Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Quality QuaranTIME. My name is Alex Vander Johnson. Today we have Ricky Garcia. Ricky is a performer that I met through a lip syncing competition called Learn the Words Bitch that happens once a month in Silverlake at a bar called Akbar. It's now being moved online because of obvious reasons. But basically the competition, it's almost like a karaoke competition, but lip syncing. People put all kinds of thought into their performances or not at all. Sometimes people just hop up spontaneously to do a song. But Ricky is one of the performers who has won the title the most number of times. I'm just so drawn in by his performances. He's such a great performer. He actually works with some of the biggest drag queens in the game right now, and he's sort of toured with them. So I'm going to talk to him about what goes into a good performance, what his process is, and learn a little bit more about how he grew up and how he became the person he is today. So let's chat with Ricky. Hello. We just had some technical issues, so we're actually using Zoom.
Some testicle difficulties.
I'm sort of hoping, I'm like, okay, how could I make money off of this? And I'm like, okay, well, Zoom could sponsor me.
There you go. Set it up on Patreon, Instagram, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bitch, I'm trying to figure out how to make money too, boo. So.
I think we all are. I think we're all in a collective like, okay, how do we survive this? And right. I just had the mouse on your face for like 5 seconds, but it's all good. Okay. We good. Yeah. Where are you right now?
Right now I'm in Grand Park.
Okay.
So I'm using the lovely Starbucks Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Since ain't nobody here.
Wow. Can you show me around? It's never like this, is it?
No. So I'm right by like that City Hall right there. And then we've got the Starbucks there. I'm just in the back side of it.
Right.
And the music center is around there. So I live like down the street from here.
Okay.
It just, the Wi-Fi wasn't working, so,
yeah,
to be remote. But it's cute. I got my mask on and everything.
Good, in case anybody comes too close.
6 feet, bitch.
I'm loving the hair. What inspired this look?
Tiger King? No, I'm just kidding. No. It's just giving you a little frosted flakes right now. I haven't dyed it because I haven't been out, so there's no need to. But sure. I had this feeling of just dyeing my hair, like going a little radical. So I went with red first, and then I kept it there for a while, and it started fading into an orange. And I had this idea of what if I went down the spectrum just for fun?
Yeah.
Because my hair grows so fast and so thick all the time. So I figured, why not just fuck around with it? So I stuck with orange because I really like it.
Yeah.
And I have an idea for yellow, but I'm, until the world gets to see me again.
Yes.
We'll debut yellow.
We'll debut yellow. Well, I can't wait. I cannot wait for that day. Now, did you grow up in Los Angeles?
I did. Born and raised.
Born and raised. A unicorn.
Park.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I lived, pretty much up and down California. So after here, I moved to Visalia after high school. I have family up there, and my plan was to originally move up to San Francisco to go to school there. And then that just didn't end up working. So the money that I had saved up, I ended up moving with some friends down to Riverside. People give me shit about it all the time, but it was a lot of fun. Funny enough, I would always go to drag shows when I could, once I was able to kind of go into the club. And Riverside had a whole bunch of the people that I really liked from Drag Race. I had Raven, Morgan McMichaels. So I would literally Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had Monday through Friday.
Wow.
Of just going to these different bars. So I was exploring the city, but I was checking them out, following them, and just
yeah,
just I don't know, making friends out there, So
what is it that you love about drag shows?
I just like shows, period.
Yeah.
And I've been reflecting about this a lot. I guess I'm someone who's like never really liked to take things too seriously. I've always kind of found solace in breaking away from reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always a kid like diving into music, diving into movies, and just characters, because to me like it was just a funny like what's the word I'm looking for, like
Microcosm, yeah.
There you go, yeah, of just like the world. So like to me that just kind of like translated things easier for me. I guess my parents were like pretty overprotective. Like I remember like growing up like wanting to hang out with some friends, and sometimes it would be like pulling teeth to try to be able to do so. So
Wow.
my
Well,
escape was just kind of like shows, you know.
did you know gay people growing up, or like?
Honestly, just from like TV. I was watching a lot of Will and Grace at that time, but I was also like, I guess early on, if I really looked back at it, I knew I was gay like shit, second grade, and like for real, like fourth, fifth grade, like I knew what it was. Like I knew me, and I knew from seeing things of like how people perceived it. So I was always kind of like cautious, but I wasn't scared. Like I was more like, I think I know this about myself, and if people are kind of curious to know, because I felt like people's fear and like antics only comes out from something that they don't understand. So
Right.
my theory was like, if I maybe help them understand it, or if I can just have them see me for me, then it might translate, you know, like, and it might not even be a big deal.
Right.
And it worked for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and then you came out, and then for the most part, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some like times in like, I can remember like in high school, like some kids speaking Spanish and like in like a class and like trying to talk shit on me because I always got that I looked Persian. I never thought that I looked Mexican. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of like looked at them and I said something back in Spanish, and they were just like, and I was like, bitch, don't fuck with me.
Wow. So have you
Yeah.
been like, I mean, like, because you're obviously a very joyful person, but then you also, you do have pushback. You do have your limits where you're like, you will, you know,
oh, yeah.
snap back at someone.
Like Ruth says, sometimes you got to break it down and motherfucker.
Well, I have to say that something that makes you such a joy to watch on stage is the joy that you bring to the stage. You always look like you're having so much fun. What to you makes a good performance? How do you know that Ricky has done a good job?
I'm definitely always my worst critic, and I do this for fun, you know, like I kind of started it in a way because I was like, it looks like a lot of fun. Tony has a great show, Learn the Words. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've done it so many times too, and you always have a lot of fun too.
Yes.
I remember seeing you a lot and being like, he looks like he's having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I think what makes a good show is really kind of paying attention to the song. And I also started doing it because like my thing was like, I want to do songs that I feel like I haven't heard.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, like, you choose very like obscure, specific songs, and for me, what comes across is you always seem to have a very, even if I have no idea what it is, you have a very specific idea of what the song is and the message that you're trying to get across. Right.
That's to me is like the important part, and that's what I got off from the people that I like growing up watching, like Raven, like Morgan McMichaels, because Raven always had like amazing song choices. She would always like pull out songs from the Golden Filter, which I would like listen to, and I'm like, I never thought I would hear this in a club, and I love that she's doing it, you know? Like, So that was always like really cool to watch, and I wondered if I can do the same. So it's just a matter of like, anytime I'm hearing music, a good song to me is always like telling a good story. So if you relate the story on stage, whether the people know it or not, then that's when you know you have a good one. But it takes, I wouldn't even say practice. Like, I think it just takes like patience with like understanding the song and kind of like acting it out to the best of your abilities. If you want to be serious, play the serious tone. If it sounds like it's going to be funny, like camp it up a little bit, you know.
Right.
But I think the main key is like patience. Like I see a lot of the times, like especially if it's like a song that's not a mix, I see a lot of people like just going straight into it and going like hard on it, you know. But then that's like a minute in, and you still have like 3 minutes left, and then you're like, I don't know what to do, and then like you kind of burn out, and the audience kind of like burns out watching you, you know. So it's a game of tease.
Yeah.
You want to just sprinkle it out, you know. It's a matter of getting the attention.
Totally. Now, when you're planning out that tease, are you sort of marking the beats throughout the song? Are you saying at this point I want to start doing this? Because when I watch you, there's almost sort of like it feels so natural. It feels so organic the way that
I'm glad.
the way that it builds. Is it or basically my question? Is it organic or is it planned?
It's both, depending on the song too. Like I can remember the first time I ever did it, like learning the words, I did a Barbra Streisand song. We did "Gotta Move." I was like, here's 2.5 minutes. I'll just go for it. But I love the song, and I love watching her perform too. Which, if you've never seen Barbra Streisand TV specials, I highly recommend. High camp, high glamour. But Color Me Barbara is so good, and she has this. It's all in her face, and she's a funny girl. So like she can sing, but she also has like this acting ability to her face, and like to make it camp, and it's kind of subtle, but it's very effective. So I tried blocking it out, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I know this song by heart. I'm just gonna fag it out like on stage. Yeah. And so that was a natural thing. But something like the Madonna Medellin one that I did, like I was in the fucking parking lot, like right before the show started, like figuring out what I'm gonna do for verse 2.
Right.
Just because it's easier for me to be like, you know, what should I do in this? And then knowing the song so much, I know what they're saying. So it's just a matter of like, what is my body gonna do to kind of say what it's saying? So like, and especially like Maluma was speaking in Spanish, so I'm like, these bitches might not know Spanish, so maybe if I mime it, they'll figure out what the hell I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So when he said something like, he said something about like in Spanish, like I'll crown you. So like I mime to put a crown on my head, and then he's like, and if you don't like it, you can take this seat and this, like I have like a throne. But he's like referencing his dick, so like I motion for, you know, but it's something that Madonna would do too.
Right.
So it's always a reference for me. I'm such a fucking reference queen.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what makes it so cool to watch, because even if you don't know the references, you understand that there's an intention behind it. Are you a competitive person? Because you've learned the words so many times, but then I always get this sense about you that you don't take yourself too seriously. And I never know, like, because you seem to have fun regardless. And so but then you put so much into your performance. So I was curious if you consider yourself a competitive person.
Thanks. I want to say no, but I know that it may come across as yes. Only because, like doing that is fun for me. And I really don't like mind the outcome. Like, to me, it's just fun doing it. I love being in that environment. Like I said, that show's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
But no, I guess I'm not competitive in the sense because like I'm not really willing to want to come out like the best. Like if anything, I'm more interested in whoever's gonna like judge me, critique me, like or whatever. Like if it translated to them and get that, you know, like to me that's always like done. And I told my friends too, like when I want to do something, I'm like, I would tell them, like, my idea is to just, like, do a song, and, like, I want to just, like, do one that I haven't heard, or maybe, like, I've never heard that song in that way, or whatever, you know? Like, that's always, like, my goal.
Right.
And usually, sometimes when I get critiques back from people or from the judges, like, they usually say that without me having to, like, say it. So, to me, that's, like, job well done, and I feel good about it, you know?
Right.
And even, like, something like being on Drag Race, like, it wasn't, like, I wanted to go in there like being ready to do it, but I wasn't like trying to look around being like, how can we do this better than this? Like it was more like, how can we like do what we want to do well enough to translate well to that, you know?
Right, totally. Yeah, and just
Yeah.
for people who don't know, you're good friends with Naomi Smalls, and you were on the best friend episode of RuPaul's Drag Race where Naomi dressed you up in drag.
Mhm.
What have you learned in, being friends with Naomi, and also in just sort of being on the show and maybe seeing like a little behind the scenes sneak peek of something that's become such a cultural phenomenon?
Right. Um, like to me, it's so fucking crazy. Like that, I always say that it's like this full fun circle moment because being in Riverside too, like when I lived there, I had already known Davis for maybe like a good year or two.
Mm-hmm.
We met through like a mutual friend at a time, and like we went out to the club, and immediately we like got to each other's liking. And then he said he wanted to do drag, and by the time that he said that, like I was living in Riverside, and he would come over to my place and watch season 5 of Drag Race, and he'd be like,
Wow.
"I want to try it out." And I'm like, "Bitch, go for it." So he started out around that area in Pomona,
Right.
and then I would make like his mixes. And when he got on, I was like super like thrilled for him. And then when he said that he was going to do All Stars, like I was even more elated.
Wow.
And I remember like checking out like his stuff before he went, and I was like super excited because I was like, "This fucking like Bob, so cool."
Right.
And he kind of had like a layout of what might happen. And he said that there might have been like a makeover challenge too. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Kept it at that. So it was when I was at my friend Michael's place, and I got a phone call from a random number, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And it was fucking cool. I was just like, "This is crazy." Like I immediately knew what it would be, and I'm like, "I'm down to do it." And then even getting there, like 2 days before, I remember shopping for like a shirt, and I found like this Wizard of Oz shirt, and I was all like, "I'm gonna wear it, see if I can, just to be my little wink, wink, nod, nod to Rue," because I've been such a fan of the show for so long, and of him for like since I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
And I used to watch the VH1 fucking talk show when it was on air.
Yes, throwback.
And yeah, but of course I wasn't able to wear it because of like image rights. But then getting there and hearing the clue and like and hearing about Judy Garland and Wizard of Oz, I thought it was really trippy. And then like knowing that it was a makeover challenge, and then even remembering his makeover challenge of his season, it was a Wizard of Oz theme one too.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was just like, this is fucking crazy how like full circle this is.
Yeah.
So it was just really fun to be in that moment and environment. And I've been in like I've tried to be on game shows before, so like I've seen how like TV kind of works. So I already was kind of like comfortable in that setting.
Right.
But I was just more like trying to geek out and like trying to figure out like, okay, like what's the challenge? Like what are we doing?
Yeah. How do you stay grounded, and like what keeps you so down to earth?
The first thing that came to mind was me being so naive. But I guess it's just like my nature to just like want to listen and like and hear. Even sometimes like when I'm having interactions with like, let's say people at the club that like I may not know, or that may seem like, oh my gosh, girl, like I don't know, like I still like to kind of like talk and like and hear it out. I think it's just a matter of like listening. I think when people want to like say something, like maybe just like listen and then like kind of like hear them out and like and volley back in there, you know, like it's helpful because it's a good perspective. I guess that's what it is. Like I like seeing a different perspective, or I like putting myself in other people's shoes, whether it's like subtle or totally like trying to immerse myself if I'm like performing, you know?
Right.
So I guess it's just that, like just kind of being aware
of other people
and yeah, and like and getting the cues, like
yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like even like with people, like if people have like something like negative to say in general, right? Like with anything, like even if it's like a different opinion of mine with something, like it's just kind of like understanding that like there's different perspectives and there's different narratives and there's different ways of viewing things, you know?
Right.
And that's always just intriguing to me, whether I agree with it or not. And if I don't, it's even more intriguing because I can try to tap into like, well, what would drive that person to say something like that, or what would drive this person to think that, and then try to like, and then I get a different understanding of something that I was looking at differently, you know.
Right.
Even me being like living here in LA, like, and moving back, like I love LA, but I also get very tired of it really quickly. and that just could be because I grew up here and I want something new, which is kind of like going on with like me wanting to explore more of this, and like I'm thinking of like hoping to move to New York by the time that this shit rolls over.
Oh my God.
Just because I want something new and I want to explore something fun.
No, don't.
We'll see how long Corona takes. Girl.
I know, for real.
Because, you know, when you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans, bitch. Look at what happens.
Are you a religious person at all? Do you believe in God?
I believe in a higher power. I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
And I'm such a fucking rebel too. Like even that, like I couldn't finish. And when I was doing my confirmation, 2 weeks after 2 years of going at it, they came up to my parents and they're like, "Your son's not going to be able to confirm for a lack of faith." And I'm like, "That's bullshit." Like I didn't have a lack of faith, but I would be that kid who'd be like, "Okay, like if you're dragging me here on a Sunday and we're going to have some class and you're going to teach me something, if I'm going to have questions."
Right.
You know, like, and I wouldn't be much of a jerk about it, but
right.
But I think they just didn't have my liking because I don't know. I sense I myself didn't want to do it because I was like, it's not that I don't consider myself a Catholic. I just know that there's more out there.
Right.
And I'm fucking 14, so like I don't want. I honestly didn't even want to make the commitment to it. Just because my parents wanted me to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You've always had that push. You've always had that pushback.
Right.
Even back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could blame Madonna for that, or I thank Madonna for that, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also meant to ask you, like, what artists, almost sort of knowing the answer, but what artists do you personally hope to emulate, and who has sort of changed your life in the way you view things based on a performance that they gave?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Madonna.
Yeah.
Like without a question, but also just like any 80s artist really kind of like did that for me. I'm a 90s kid. I was born in 91, but growing up, my dad would play a lot of like 80s music. My mom would play a lot of 80s music. My dad, his side hustle was like a DJ, and he would be the one like DJing like all like the fucking weddings, quinceañeras, parties.
Wow.
And he had a good mix of like all the Spanish music that's like very like known and common in these parties. But he also really loved like freestyle music and like 80s pop and like new wave. So he would always like play that around the house, and I got to liking it. Just because, like, so hearing the lyrics to that, I really resonated with it. Because I guess, like, growing up, I always felt a little different. And the thing with 80s music, even though, like, some people kind of, like, don't have, like, an ear for it because, like, maybe the synthesizers are too much and this and that.
Yeah.
But to me, it's really interesting because it's, like, it was, like, this new technology that came in, so everyone was fucking being experimental with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard. I heard people's experiments with it, you know? And if you hear the lyrics to it, a lot of them are really like super either cheesy about love or about like coming together, because a lot of shit was going down in the 80s too, you know? If you look at like what was happening politically in the 80s and what's happening politically now, like it's very eerie at how similar things are. And that's what I've been kind of like noticing even a lot more when I listen to these music. So artists like Madonna, like Prince, like George Michael, who were kind of like different from the status quo, different from like the America that we were like kind of like, or the society that we were like born into or expected to be. Right. These were the people who were like pushing the boundary and doing something fucking crazy and radical. But also these are the people who were really successful in doing something, I don't know, crazy with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I really resonated with that. Even like Pat Benatar, like rock chicks, you know, like I love listening to that music. I liked hearing it. I like seeing their videos for it. And that to me looked like it was like not a reality.
Yeah.
And it was also like they were experimenting with music videos because that was also a new format, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But also like art-wise, and the reason why Madonna is like my number one, she totally is like my gateway drug. Because like I started growing up with her like around 5 when my mom would play Immaculate Collection.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Mexico a lot, like to my dad's side of the family as a kid. And I was like 8, 9, 10. when we would go. And so this was like early 2000s, and the internet was like a thing, but they would have cute little internet cafes there. So I would literally like get my money, go to the cafes, and legit all I would do is fucking Wikipedia Madonna. And thankfully I did, because through that, like I decided to go through her like discography, and I was like looking at her story and the things that she was doing. But also by the time that I got to like a prayer, she was talking a lot about like growing up Catholic and her family. Like she was 30 at the time, which is around the same time that her mother was the age that her mother passed away. So like she was having like this whole like reflective moment, but she was also like pushing the boundaries and like and being very sex positive, but also saying like have safe sex, because everyone was so fucking afraid of talking about sex and sexuality because of the AIDS epidemic.
Right.
So through her, I learned about the AIDS epidemic, because school wasn't teaching that.
Right.
Like as a 10-year-old kid, I'm on the internet fucking looking this up, and all her references I got to look up. She was always referencing like things like old Hollywood, like Marlene Dietrich. So I would like look her up. I would look up those movies, and then I would see that like they made a big hoopla at the time too. So I was always that kid too. I'm like, okay, if this made a big splash and a big noise back in the fucking 50s, 60s, 70s, I want to see it, and if it resonated with me, or if I can understand that. And more than likely, like I usually got it and I liked it. So I got to like learn more. So it was all just kind of like this big web. So through Madonna too, I learned about like Keith Haring and Frida Kahlo more. You know, my uncle grew up liking Frida Kahlo a lot, so I knew her through then. But like looking at the imagery that she used, and then reading more on Frida, like it just kind of like really kind of all kind of came together.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. You're such
reference queen.
You are a reference queen. I think that's what makes you so good. What I feel when I watch you is you're so studied, you've got all these references, but then when you're on stage, you throw it all away. And you just enjoy the moment, and you live in it. And it's such a you're just amazing to watch.
Bitch, you too. I live for your dancing. I'm living for a Britney moment, you know.
Yes, no, I know. I am too. Hey, this was a Britney moment, okay? Yeah. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for joining me for some quality QuaranTIME. Is there anything that you're obsessed with this week? Anything that's bringing you joy? Anyone who, if you were to be sponsored, you'd want to be sponsored by?
By Blick and Squarespace. No, I don't know, but I mean, shocker, I'm fucking literally like re-obsessing over Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour right now.
Okay.
It just celebrated its 30th year this week. And that's a game changer for me, because I was like maybe 8 or 9 when I had already known about that tour, and I knew that like reading up on her shit, I knew that like everyone was saying like, oh, it's a game changer, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But she never released it on film. And then I was at my library, the Chinatown Library, and I found a copy of Truth or Dare, which is her documentary that documents that whole documentary. So I remember renting it, and I remember waking up like really early on a Saturday morning when like everyone was still asleep, and I popped it in the living room, and I watched it like in secrecy, just because I knew it might be a little racy. I just didn't want my parents to give me shit. Like I'm somebody who was like, I just want to get immersed in it and like see it, you know. And it fucking blew my mind. Like just the way that she kind of put it together, and like in the clips of it, and like and that to me really was like an eye opener on a good performance. Because it was theater, and I didn't really like. I liked theater, but I didn't really like dive into musicals until like after that, really. So totally. Yeah, so I've been re-obsessing with that and doing a little project.
Well, awesome. Well, Ricky, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you in person, and I can't wait to see what you turn out for the next Learn the Words.
All right. Stay tuned.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Quality QuaranTIME. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time.